All right, guys. So many people ask me all the time, Kevin, what do you do with sub-2 deal or seller finance deal that you don't really cash flow, right? Like, and that cash flow term is so subjective because you can make any deal cash flow, but in this particular example, in this particular video, we're going to be going over, okay, if we're taking over, if we have a sub-2 deal where the payment is like 2,500 bucks, but we can only rent out the house for 2,200 bucks, 2,300 bucks, and the buyer is going to be losing, 200 to 300 bucks every single month. What do we do with that deal? I have my partner Lorraine in here, and the reason why I decided to bring her up in this video is because her and I we have sold over, Lorraine, like 100
A
plus,
little over 100, yes, together.
little over 100 plus sub-2 and seller finance deals that are, break even, sometimes, and then, a lot of the times lately especially that are losing money. So non-cash flowing sub-2 and seller finance deals, what the heck do you do with them? So I decided to bring Lorraine, and she will give you some advice because I have no clue. And actually, I'm here to learn from you, Lorraine, because I would love to know what our process looks like. So,
Okay.
so usually people come to us, right? Like at this point, now that we're more established, people come to us saying, "Hey, Kevin, I have a sub-2 deal here in Arizona, here in Vegas, Tampa, Texas. It doesn't cash flow as long-term rental, and people will submit the deals to us, deals at kevinchoe.com. And then what do you do with that at that point?
Okay. So yes, we get the more challenging deals come our way, which is great. So I get like really happy if we have a little cash flow in those. I mean, that's a happy day for us. But
Right.
anyways, with these more challenging deals where it's either break even or they don't cash flow or negative cash flow, which we get many, many times. So there's a couple of different ways. So our buyers, they have different exit strategies for one. Two, they're a little bit more experienced as an investor, so they think a little bit outside of the box. So if I submit them, if I show them, hey, here's a deal that Kevin and I just got, it doesn't cash flow or a negative cash flow X amount of dollars. Um, what is the potential in the near future? What can they do with that? Not only what they can do with it now, but what can they do with it a little bit later where it's going to benefit them? And yes, it will cash flow depending on location. So you have to, as a wholesaler, you really have to look at each deal on its own. It's really hard to compare it because they're not apples to apples. And
Right.
sometimes, they want somebody will come to us and just want a blanket answer like, okay, what can we do? Or how should I approach this? Well, we have to look a little bit deeper. And so when we have a negative cash flow deal come our way, I look at location. I look to see, what are the current rents, and I use a couple of different methods, PropStream, of course, Rent-O-Meter, and then I go into Zillow and I look at the current rentals just to make sure I have a better picture of what those numbers look like.
Right.
And then also, the current value, what's the purchase price. So you want to look at a lot of different things before you can say this is a deal or not deal. And so our buyers, when I send it to them, they have that mentality, they have that thinking process like, okay, what can I do with this now? And what can I do with it down the line? Is it worth it?
Right.
Does it have an HOA? Because your HOAs are good. Whatever's on those CC&Rs is going to make a huge difference on the exit strategies.
Right.
And that's something that I believe that we've been able to help a lot of, especially new wholesalers, is that you have to review those HOA CC&Rs because it's going to pretty much dictate those exit strategies. You
So,
know,
so CCNR, it's basically is
the
what
rule.
what you can do and what you cannot do in an HOA community.
Exactly. Your rental, your leasing rules. Can you rent it by room or is it entire dwelling only? Which makes a difference because that means you can't do, any type of co-living or any like that. So the negative cash flow deals, there's most of the time there is an exit strategy somewhere in there. You just have to do a little bit more research. And again, it is for your more experienced investors because they know what they think outside the box.
Right, right. So the first thing you do is, okay, what can we do in a, is there HOA? Because if most, I mean, how many times have do we have a deal die because of the HOA and the
Yeah,
regulations?
exactly. And something to really keep in mind is that when an agent or if a seller tells you, oh, there's no restrictions or there's only this, No, no, no. You need to see those CCNRs for yourself because it's been, I mean, I can't count how many times where we were told one thing and then once I review the document, completely different. So yeah, we've had some deals did have to die out. We couldn't move forward with anything because of those rental restrictions. We're very,
What
very strict.
what's a fair rental restriction? Like 6 month minimum? Do you think that's pretty good?
Um, yes. So 6 month, which will of course eliminate your MTR exit strategy.
Right.
Um, for the most part, there's more HOAs that say no to anything than less than 30 days.
Okay.
That's what I've been seeing recently. A lot of things are changing in per city, not just HOA, but you also have to look at, I'll give you an example. We had a deal a couple of weeks back, and I was actually looking at it for myself. And it was in Fort Worth. I knew the area. I do live in Fort Worth. It was just a little bit south of me. And I'm like, okay, I was thinking of all of the potential exit strategies, right? And no HOA. However, the city of Fort Worth has its own zoning laws
Wow.
where, yeah, so you have to look at the zoning. You got to look at that map and see, okay, what are my options? Can I do anything less than 30 days? And that particular area, you cannot. So, that went that exit strategy. So when you're marketing, also, a lot of wholesalers, especially new ones, will say, okay, MTR is this amount, STR potential this amount, but I found more than I would like to. Once that deal comes to us and I dig a little bit deeper on the CCNRs, if there's an HOA or the zoning, there's so many restrictions. You really, really have to be careful before you start marketing the potential income for an STR and an MTR. Just because there's no HOA, that does not mean a STR is allowed.
Right.
There's, like Austin. Austin's is a hot area. Even though there's no HOA in some of those properties, the deals, the city of Austin will only allow a certain percentage of STRs. So you really have to understand your zoning and your city rules.
I see. I see. It's kind of like Scottsdale. Like Scottsdale, you can't do any like, there's so many regulations with short-term rentals in Scottsdale. But so if I'm a wholesaler watching this video, where do I get this CCNR? Who do I reach out to? Do I reach out to the agent or the seller?
For what?
The
For the
CCNR.
CCNRs? Yes. If it's there's an agent involved, you want to ask the agent for that information. So
Okay.
there's a couple of different ways that can be obtained. Either the seller has it, or they can log into the HOA portal
Okay.
and download a copy. There are very few HOAs because I've called a few myself where the agent was just taking too long and I needed to know what those restrictions were. So I would call the HOA myself and just ask them, hey, I'm looking to buy in this area on this street. Is this an area you manage? Yes, it is. Okay, can you please tell me if if I wanted to rent it down the line, are there any restrictions that I need to be aware of right now? Because
Mm,
most likely they're not going to give you a copy because you're not an owner, but they at least will give you a verbal answer for the most part.
okay.
There are some HOAs where they will not speak to you unless you are an owner and you have to provide, identification information. So in that case, yeah, you have to go back to the seller. Hey, if you don't have a copy, can you please call your HOA and ask for one?
Okay. Got it. Got it. Yeah. So, I mean, just in the last 18 months or so, there's just so many subto deals that have just been going around. And, like back when you and I first started, like we were getting deals at like 2, 3, 4% were so normal.
Oh, yeah.
But,
Yep.
18 months later now, and we're still doing, good amount of deals every single month. But like the deals that we're seeing are now at like what do you think the average is? Like 5%, 6%?
Oh, yeah. Between five and a half. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
What do we have any problem finding buyers for those? They're a lot harder to find, I imagine, than 2% that we've been used to, right?
Of course. Yeah. They're a little bit more challenging. However, again, you have to look at it on potential. What is the opportunity down the line? Or if it's a high interest rate, but it's a great location and the numbers still work for certain exit strategies, then that's something to think of. What is it saying? You date the rate and marry the house. So, if it's something that, hey, the interest rate is high, but it still cash flows as an MTR,
Right.
or I can do co-living. So let me look further into what are those zoning laws? Is there an HOA? Am I able to do that? So a high interest rate doesn't necessarily mean it is a dead deal. You got to look a little bit more into that.
So what are the what are the main avatars of people that will buy deals that don't really make sense for most people? Like if you're losing, like why would anybody buy, a deal, spend money to lose money every single month?
Well, that's a great question. We had a buyer who bought it was a negative cash flow about 220, which would include the HOA.
Okay.
And he had his own business, different type of business besides real estate. And what he was doing is he was just building a portfolio for his very, very young son. So he was preparing for his kid's future already. So because he does well on his other business, he was okay with a $220 negative cash flow every month. Because it's just temporary. That negative cash flow is just going to be for a little bit because there was a tenant in place as well. So once that lease expires, then yes, you have the opportunity to increase that rent or do something else with the property. But he was okay with it because again, he was thinking long term. What is this an opportunity for me and my family long term? And it was.
Yeah. So I imagine so the people that are looking to buy deals like this are, people that are that make really good amount of money where at the end of the year they're like I need to buy a house for tax depreciation, right? Like
Absolutely.
I know last year at the end, I know at the end of last year we had a lot of buyers that just wanted to get hold of more real estate just for taxes. So we sold a couple of deals.
Mm-hmm.
I know we sold the deal to Christine and a few other people.
Yeah.
So like for people that are looking for tax depreciation, but those
Mm-hmm.
people they don't. I feel like they don't really come by in the first half of the year because they're like, oh, I got 6 months to
Yeah.
figure it out, and then like the
Yeah.
last 2 months they're like scrambling to get hold on any deal that they possibly could get. So
Exactly, Daryl. Send it to me. Send it to me. Send me all
yeah,
your deals, you know? Yep. Yeah. So yeah, appreciation, our tax purposes, building a portfolio for your family, and high income people who do have either a different type of business or high paying W-2, where they could afford a little bit of negative cash flow again because they see that long-term potential, not just thinking about what can that property do for me now, but what can it do for me later.
right. Yeah. Do we have any buyers? Have you sold any deals to people that were going to live in it?
We've sold couple, yes, yes. And we do have buyers in subto who have reached out to us and say, hey, I'm looking for a homestead in DFW or in the East Valley, Arizona. And
Yeah,
because they know those are our major areas, they'll come to us and say, hey, just let me know if you have something. So I think I have about 3 in our list right now. Of course, it changes every couple of months. But yeah, they're looking for a homestead. And so I ask, okay, what specifically are you looking for? How many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, the size, just so I can get an idea. I put it on, I make note of it. And then when we have a deal that comes our way that matches, or if I notice something um, in Facebook, then I can make that connection as well.
I see. Yeah, because those are the people that are such good avatars to go after because like for me like the house, I mean I don't live in a house anymore, but the house that I used to live in that I bought sub too, right, like the house on Cherokee Street, I have a 3.25% interest rate. That
Yeah.
house, if I were to rent that house long term, it'd be 2,500 and my payment is $3,000 a month. So no investor would have bought that deal. Like it was only really good for homestead, which is the reason why I bought that house.
Mm-hmm.
And um and I lived in it for about 4 months, and then but like for me, like that was a good deal for me because I don't care if I make money on that house. Like that was a house for me to live in because I was having issues with my old apartment. So I needed a place. So like that would be so those are so right now we covered people that are looking for depreciation on their taxes, people that are just looking to build wealth, right? Like what
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, what how important is $200 a month for you? Like you
Yeah,
go out to eat once, it's $200 nowadays.
exactly. With today's prices, yeah.
Yeah. And then we also got third type of buyers, which are homestead buyers like myself.
Mhm.
Uh, what other avatars can we think of that will buy deals like this? Maybe people that just don't really care about cash flow at the end of it because they make too much money.
Yeah, you're high earners. Yeah, you're people that it's okay. Again, they think outside the box and they don't look just for short-term opportunities. So you have your long-term opportunity investors. Also, going back to Homestead, we've had quite a few people reach out saying, "Hey, my daughter or my son is looking," because with today's interest rates,
Yeah.
it's really hard, especially for the younger generation like my daughter. She's 28 and there's just no way she has a decent job, but she can't afford a home. They're so expensive with the interest rates. So again, they're like, hey, let me reach out to my, creative community and see if we can find you a home. So, it's not just for our investors that are buyers that we have, but for their families as well.
Yeah, so this is a message. So we have a group we have Arizona, creative finance substitute
Mhm.
um text chat. I'm never involved in this. I check it. I'm like I never type anything like if, as you can see like I never barely type anything. I just see what's going on. But Marlon, he goes, anyone have any creative deals for sale in Orlando? I have a hungry buyer looking for a creative deal to live in, so my son can go to college and instead of keep renting.
Mhm.
They have up to $45,000 to put down, and they can go even higher if the deal is right. Right. Like I mean, this was just yesterday at 5:33. And I
Yeah.
mean, I get this messages all the time. Like people are like, "Oh, you bought your house sub too? Can I do you have any other houses for me that I can live in?" I'm like, yeah, just go to kevinsellscreativedeals.com and put your information down. And if something comes up, we'll put
Let you
we'll
know.
we'll let you know. But like, yeah, homestead buyers, 100%. I mean, I was one of the homestead buyers. I'm not there yet on the tax depreciation where I make too much money where I need to like use it for tax purposes. But yeah, it's interesting because what most people think is like, okay, if I don't make, 500 bucks gross and make 300 bucks net on
Yeah.
a studio, that's not a deal. And
Mhm.
that cannot be further from the truth.
Exactly. And we do have those buyers as well because when they fill out our form, they put additional information on like what are you looking for? And some will just say, I don't want anything that unless it cash flows, 400. I'm like, okay, that'd be wonderful. I wish we can provide those to you, 24/7, but that's just not reality. And so those buyers are a little bit more picky and it's all good. That's just what their preferences and that's where they're at right now in their life, on what they need, but the majority of buyers that we have do understand what we focus on and what we specialize in, and that is, um, no equity, negative cash flow, or break even. Like I said, if we have a deal where cash flow is a couple of $100, I am one happy camper because those are easier to move.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry we can't negotiate with the Bank of America on the mortgage payment. I wish I could.
Exactly, exactly. It's out of our hands.
So what do we do? Like I know we joke around this, but if we ever come across buyers like I need to make 500 bucks net, like do we just like take them off the list or do we keep them?
No, the majority of the time when if I read that or they're really adamant, depending too, and depends on how they word it. There's some where just like, don't send me this, that. It's just not going to work. We're not for you. So I don't even bother adding them to our list.
Yeah.
Or they say anywhere. They have never bought a deal. Because on one of our questions is where do you buy? Anywhere. Okay. How many deals have you done? Zero. We're probably not good for you either. So I don't add
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So right now, what's our business looking like? I know my acquisition manager, Ron, he's about to go under contract on a seller finance deal
Mhm.
that I might be a buyer on, or we might just wholesale it out, and guys, I have my own, in-house sales team, right? But then like I'll say 70 or 80% of our business comes from people knowing that Lorraine and I have such good buyers list that we've been building for organically for the last, I don't know, I've been building it for 18 months or so. And then,
Yeah.
Lauren, you came into the picture about 4 months into it. So like I've been building my buyers list organically, like legit buyers, one by one for the last like 18 months. We have really good buyers. We have sold deals that nobody else could have sold. But like what do we have like how many wholesalers do we have just like that we work with on the consistent basis? Like, 10, 20, 30?
on a consistent basis. So it comes in flows. So we'll have maybe we're working, say, 10, but they kind of rotate because they come to us to not only help sell the deal, but to learn from us, right? So and we want them to be able to feel comfortable at one point to just to go on their own and be able to sell the deals, right? Because they understand it, they learn from us. So it's kind of like a two-part thing that we do. Yes, we can help you find buyers, but yes, we can also help you, for the goals that you want to meet in the future. But yeah, we do work with at least between 5 to 10 regular wholesalers on a consistent basis.
Right.
And some move on and then we get a new batch in. And that just seems to be the trend.
We just have new people that we're working with every single.
All the time. And once they feel comfortable with us and they know the way that we work and how we communicate, then they keep bringing, you know, either really hot leads to us, or if something's under contract already, then they come to us. And then eventually, they'll be able to just fly on their own, and they're very appreciative.
Right, right. I mean, because at the end of the day, like you do like 5 deals with us, like you see how you get the ropes, right? You get the hang of it, and you're like,
Absolutely.
okay, I can go do it on my own, and that's like the goal for every people that we JV with is like you ideally you want to stop working with us.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. So we're here as you need us. And then there's some that will go on their own and then they end up coming back to us because they need a little help.
Right.
So we've experienced that as well. And, we're like, hey, welcome back.
Welcome back. Yeah. Do you know what wholesalers, what lists are really what they're going after? Like I'm sure I know we do a lot of foreclosures and stuff. Like we got like 4 deals that's going through partial claim and
Yep.
loan modification.
Yes.
So foreclosure list is good for the wholesalers. Like I imagine the no equity list is still pretty good.
Yep. There's still a no equity list. Yes.
Um, actually, as a bonus, now that for people that are watching this video, I want to give away an agent list, right? So what my team and I are working on, Lorraine, is, and when I say team, like you mainly work on the dispo side, so you don't see you don't hear the communication there. But what Ryan and I are working on is we're pulling a nationwide list of all the realtors who who have done a seller finance transaction. So when we pull nationwide seller finance transactions that happen, like let's just say in Arizona, we pull all the seller finance transactions that happen, and we see a listing agent or a buyer's agent involved. We're putting them on the side, and we're coming up with goal is to have all 50 states, but I'm coming up with Arizona, Texas, Florida, Vegas, and North Carolina, South Carolina list compilations of all the real estate agents that were involved in the seller finance transaction. So guys, if you guys are looking as a token of my appreciation, I will be giving that away in this on the description box below because I want to do deals with all of you guys. So because like I feel like seller finance is a new hot topic. Like everybody's like
Mhm.
do seller finance. So I'll be giving that list away. So but back to the topic. Foreclosure, no equity, seller finance list. What's also a good list? Like
We've been getting quite a few hybrids. We got a couple today as specifically hybrids. So I think the way that where we're at now in real estate and people who bought, you know, well, they're empty nesters,
empty
you
nester,
know, people who don't need that big old house. I've been seeing a lot more of that in the last couple of months.
right?
And they need a downsize, so they do have equity, but they're open to options. They're open to doing a hybrid, to get that price that they're not able to get traditionally.
What's also a good list that I had a pretty good success with is recently refinance list. Um,
Hmm.
Nobody really has talked about that, and I haven't even talked about it because I was focusing on the no equity list. But if you go to PropStream, there's you can play around with the filters where you can see all the houses that were refinanced. So they might have owned the house for 7 years, but they refinanced recently, so they have a brand new mortgage, and they may be upside down, so they're all kind of like a different variation of a no equity list. But like that's also a good list to go. That's a good list to call after. But yeah, like I feel like no equity list, foreclosure list is like 70% to 80% of our business,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah. Yes. Yep. I agree.
Yeah. Well, as we are nearing the end of the podcast, because I try my best to keep it under 30 minutes with bite size for people that are listening. But how do people do deals with us?
You can contact me directly. You can use our, I believe you're going to, on the description, you'll add a link to our Google form as well.
Yep. So guys, if you guys are looking for a submission form, you can go to dealswithkevin.com. You know, it's like, hey, DEALS with Kevin.com. Or if you're like, I don't want to do a submission form, I just want to email you, I'll go to
Mhm.
deals at thekevinchoe.com, and we will get back to you within 12 hours, 24 hours for sure.
Yes, yes, yes.
24 hours for sure. Even on a weekend, like we'll get back to you. Okay. We're never one of those people that like, hey, like just send me deals and we'll get back to you. Like, when are you gonna get back to me? Eventually. No, we will get back to you in 24 hours. Because oh my God, I remember Lorraine, this quick side note. I was working with multiple buyers when I first started, and they're like, just send me the deal. And I'll
Mhm.
send them the deal, and I don't hear back for 4 or 5 days. I'm like, hey, did you die, or are you like, is this not a good deal? Can you at least give me a feedback? So even if it's a bad deal, I will we will still let you know it's a bad deal. We will not just
Yes,
leave you unread.
yes, yes. And kind of tell you why, our 2 cents,
Right.
what we see on our end.
Yeah. And we also have full-time transaction coordinator on our team that can help you with the help us with the paperwork. We have
Yes.
a full-time closer on our team that if you are like literally on the verge of getting it under contract, my
Mhm.
team can come in and help you with that. I mean 120 plus creative finance deals, and I don't think anybody really has done that many. So I feel like just that alone, we have the credibility for it. So but anything else before we end the podcast?
I think that's about it. I mean, when you're doing when you are submitting something or sending us an email, just provide us as much information as you can.
Yeah.
Again, if there's an HOA, you want those CC&Rs because it's really hard to you're kind of stuck until you see those, so you can see for yourself what those regulations are. But yeah, and we'll get back to you and answer all the questions that you have.
Perfect, perfect. Well, there you guys have it. Another episode of the Kevin Cho Show, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you guys.
Bye.